Okay, before you say anything, I know I said in the last review that more snakes were going to be featured. Every last one of them are in shed, so unfortunately my recording schedule doesn't always align with the snakes' biological schedule. So no snakes in this video, but I do want to talk about this film and have it up for you guys. Basically, I just finished watching on Netflix The Five Bloods. Is a new Spike Lee joint, a new Spike Lee original for Netflix. I think he got a Netflix deal to where, you know, he give them original content and they play some of his classics on the platform. So I really love that because I love Spike Lee. But Spike Lee is a very polarizing director. And by polarizing, I mean he can come off very preachy, and he's not subtle. Subtlety in messaging, and his messages don't comprehend at all. He tells you flat to your face, this is what the story's about, these are the characters I'm giving y'all, this is my message. And some people love it, some people hate it. Me personally, I have no issue with that, because the rest of his filmmaking is so great, and the characters that he creates for his films are so great. Like, I love The Black Klansman, and I love a lot of his old classic stuff like School Days and She's Gotta Have It, and Do the Right Thing, and a lot of other things. Malcolm X. He's directed a lot of films, and despite the fact that he's not subtle with his messages, he hits you in the face with his messages, his filmmaking is so phenomenal that I give him a pass on that. I won't do that for a lot of movie directors, to where, you know, some movie directors will try to give you a message in their films, and I hate it. But that's also because their filmmaking techniques aren't all that good to go with it, or their characters suck, or, you know, the plot was not very coherent. So he's about the only director I give a pass on that. But some people don't give him a pass. Some people say they can't stand it. So that's why I said he's a very polarizing director. But anyways, he just released this new film last week, The Five Bloods, and it basically deals with veterans in the Vietnam War. I'm trying to be as vague as I can because I really want y'all to go Netflix and watch it and see for yourself and judge the movie based on your own taste and merit. So I'm not going to give any huge spoilers, but I will say that the synopsis, the plot, is that these five men, well, four men, that's kind of spoilery, but these four men, they fought in the Vietnam War together, and so they're going back to Vietnam at their old age, their senior old age, to go get some gold that they found back in the war, and also to recover their fifth member's body who died in combat. So basically they're like, hey, we made a promise, we made a pact, let's go get the gold and bring our comrade, our best friend, back to the United States to bury him and honor him like he's supposed to be. So basically they're on this grand adventure, and throughout their adventure you get flashbacks of the story of them fighting the war. That's as much spoilers as I'm going to give, but I will say that the characters are phenomenal. I love the cast. His casting was great in this film. These men, they felt like real brothers. They felt like best friends, and if the actors were so amazing that it was their relationship was very convincing. The chemistry was there. Even when the scenes and the parts of the story where they were arguing and fighting, it still felt like these men had love for each other, they cared for each other, and they had each other's backs no matter what. Even the most polarizing character, who was a Trump supporter, and yes, there are some black men out there today who support Trump. Stupid, I know, but they exist. Spike Lee didn't just make this up, but even his character has some nuance to him, and it's very complex. I mean, this guy suffered from PTSD. You know, the war was shit, you know what I'm saying? And even though you want to hate him, it's like, man, I can't hate this old man. He's going through a lot. He's suffering. And he do love his family. He do love his friends. He love his, despite his mistakes, his flaws, and his PTSD and his craziness and his love for being a Republican. He's very, you can't hate him, you can't help but feel for him and have empathy for him. I'm not gonna say you can't help but love him, but you know, that's how good the acting and the actors were, and that's how good the characters were written. One thing about Spike Lee, yes, his messages can be very heavy-handed, but when he writes some good characters, man, just like when you look back at his old films, like I watched School Days a couple of weeks ago, and I just forgot how great that movie was, and it was all because of the characters, because of, you know, Lawrence Fishburne characters and all the other cast there. And it was just like, wow, Spike Lee really do, you know, when he's good at something, he's good, and when he's not so good at something, you know, you kind of can forgive him because his strengths outweigh the weaknesses. And man, Spike is a legend. He is a whole legend. I love this film, The Five Bloods. If this was out in theaters and we weren't quarantined because of the virus, I would go spend $20 to go see this film. It was worth that much. I give it a full high price. I give it a 10 out of 10. And it was mainly because of the story. It was because of the characters. It was a great character study. And it shows, and he showed, it's a Vietnam story. That it's a Vietnam story. It's a war story from the past, from the perspective of black people, which we don't see a lot in Hollywood. It was a war film. I think it was a World War I film called, I'm not going to say butcher the name of it, but it's it just got a whole bunch of awards. It came out last year, and it was because majority of the film was in one take, so it won a lot of awards for technical and stuff like that. And that's a good film. And a lot of other films of the past, war films, they're great, but they never give you the perspective of the black people who fought in wars. Black people fought in wars. By choice or by force, they fought in wars, and when they got back home, they were still treated like shit. They were still mistreated, still had to deal with racism on top of the PTSD and the violence and the shit that they had to witness, you know, fighting for a country that did not give a damn about them. And so I'm happy that he actually gave us a war story from our perspective. And my granddad, he's a Vietnam War veteran, and as I was watching this, I could imagine, you know, I was nowhere near close to being alive back then, but I can just imagine what the horrors he saw and felt back in those days. I think he did like 2 tours, probably more than that, but I think it was 2 tours. But the fact that he survived that craziness, that heckness, because we lost a lot of men, black people, white people. That war was, all the wars are so stupid and pointless, and we lost a lot of people. And the fact that my grandfather survived his tours and came back home and had to deal with the racial injustices of America when he came back, you know, it's a surprise that he didn't end up like these homeless veterans. It's a surprise that he didn't end up as successful as he did, owning a bunch of land and his own house and his own crops and his own business. You know, my granddaddy was a tough man, and there's a lot of tough men out there who survived wars like the Vietnam that people kind of forget. You kind of forget your heroes sometimes. But I think this is a great film. I think everybody should watch it. Watch it with your dad. Watch it with your granddad if your granddad's still alive. It's a beautiful film. It's beautiful. It's amazing. Spike Lee did a great thing. I'm glad him and Netflix got this deal going on. He need to drop some more classics, some more original videos on Netflix platform, especially since this whole pandemic is kind of messing up movie theaters. But I hope this film gets some awards, especially the main actors. I hope they get at least nominations, you know, because they deserve this. They deserve this. That was a beautiful, beautiful film. I love it. It's very rewatchable. Even during the tough scenes, it was still in the violence, because Spike Lee he don't censor anything. He's gonna show somebody getting their head blown off, like. But even during that, I could see myself going back to this film time and time again, just like some of his other classics. So that's my review. I fairly enjoyed The Five Bloods on Netflix. Have you seen it? What you think of it? Are you one of the people like me who don't mind the strong messaging, or are you the type of person who prefer a director or a writer to be subtle with their messages and not beat you over the head with it? Or are you like me, you don't care depending on the filmmaker and how they make the films, as long as the characters and the stories are good? So tell me what you think. Have you seen the Five Bloods? Comment down below, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.